Brendan, yep. I had
Drinking.
fun last night. Yep, I'm
Would
having
you go
some,
out? Would you go out dancing or something?
No, I was on the Buddy Martin show last night
Well, then you
with
were
Buddy
dancing.
and Shane Matthews and Franz Beard, and that was fun. Yes, it was fun.
Right.
A lot of interesting stuff to talk about today. Chris Lee, Southeastern 14 is going to check in first.
He's just checked in, so we better get to it.
All right. And then Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, about 20 after. And
Good
Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider, will check in with us as well. A lot going on in Tuscaloosa. Everybody, you've got to keep up daily with what coaches are still on your staff and what players are there. We're going to cover it all. Get pen and paper handy because Brendan Martin is in the studio in Ocala. We're going to make it easy and smash the subscribe button. Smash.
Nice. Good one, Rob.
Yeah, I'm getting your lingo, but that way, every time we go live, you'll get an alert and tell your friends, your family, your neighbors, those you know and don't know. Bring them on board. We'll be right back.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Chris Lee is in with us right now. Man, that's a good-looking hat there in the studios in Nashville, Southeastern 14. We are here in the studios in Memphis, broadcasting here to you. A lot going on in the sports world, Chris, and everybody smash that subscribe button. We're sending out that new link today, and we're going to get a new sophisticated system pretty soon. But my dad, Brendan, already is going.
That means me. I'm the sophisticated system.
Yes, that's right.
That means another line item for me is what it means.
Yeah, well, we're going to get this thing figured
services. Out. Yeah. Hi, Chris Lee. Hi. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Welcome to the broadcast.
Yeah.
You can see we're on a loose format this morning.
Yeah, well,
it's baseball season. It's all good.
Didn't pitchers report to spring training today for the Braves?
I thought it was last week. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I did. To be totally honest, I am underwater between the start of college baseball, the ongoing march towards the tournament in basketball, and whatever happens in football from one day to the next, which I'm behind on the latter part for sure. So,
yeah. You know what a day of covering college sports is like now, being a trader in the stock market. You know, the opening bell at 9:30 a.m. Eastern till 4:00 Eastern. There's so much stuff happening, and you do an awesome job of covering the big picture. And I got to ask you, Brendan and Buddy and I were talking. We were gone for like 9 days in Knoxville and Charlotte and Atlanta. And we have these brilliant, Buddy limits the meetings to 15 minutes or less. And we have these production meetings. And I love it. And Brendan is so damn good at organization. So are you. We're going to talk a lot about Texas and Oklahoma. And, we got basketball going on right now. You're right. A lot of sports commingling. So start wherever you want, but real quick, have you done much with Oklahoma and Texas? Because we've been working for 2.5 years since they announced they were coming in, because living in Memphis, I'm fully aware of the Boomer Sooner crowd and the Horns crowd. And it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
I haven't yet. I mean, we are literally covering 42 teams. That's 14 teams times 3 across 3 sports. And I mean, I take that very seriously. Like my baseball prep isn't quite where I want it yet, but I've got these ridiculous charts with what I think are the top 27 men on every baseball roster, so I don't miss something, and trying to check those against opening day, and trying to watch basketball. I mean, sometimes I spend my time in in a press box watching a baseball game with a basketball game on the computer in front of me. It's just, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am at the moment. And you have to make some trade-offs about what you can ingest and regurgitate to the public in an intelligent manner and what you can't. Yeah. And right now I have drawn the line that I will deal with Texas and Oklahoma after the season.
Yeah, they're coming.
Right. That's what I hear.
Cousin Eddie just called. He's 5 miles from the house.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I get to the point with it. It's like, well, when we started to even have the conversation about Texas and Oklahoma, maybe this is probably more of a fun place to maybe that you have this aha moment. It's not that you don't know the tradition. It's not like you don't understand the history. Like we're all college football fans, we get it. But once you start to peel back those layers, you're like, oh, wow, like there's so much here from tradition to, endlessly, what's different about Texas football, what's different about UT football, what's different about Austin compared to Texas, and you start going down these, these lanes and you're like, man, there is so much of it. So I think we're going to just try to slowly peel back a little bit at a time as we approach football season, because I think it's interesting because it is different than the South, but it's still kind of the South,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And the Texas part particularly is going to be interesting because Texas is kind of divisive. I've got a wife who went to Nebraska, and when they left the Big Ten, I'm like, well, when they left for the Big Ten, I'm like, well, I hate that. That's stupid. You got all these rivals. Like, well, no, we wanted away from Texas and blah, blah, blah. Like, where did this come from? And so I think there's a whole world that we're about to dip our toe in that I don't completely understand at the moment, but I'm guessing a year from now, this will be a different conversation.
Well, we're talking about, Rob, you were talking about the Red River Shootout. He brought that. He's like, and it's just like, just that right there is just so much.
The State Fair, and they have that big Tex, the 70-foot tall cow. Howdy, folks. Big Tex here. Nothing like a fried turkey leg and fried turkey grease.
Where is this, Rob? Where's the big
at the cow? Texas State Fair in Dallas.
Oh, God.
Hey, real quick, gentlemen. Wesley Duncan, one of my favorite people. I love this guy. He's a great friend down in Fort Lauderdale. Watches every day. Pitchers reported last Wednesday. Braves' first spring game is Saturday at the Twins. Now, Wesley was an SAE at Auburn and grew up in Opelika, and he is as hardcore as it absolutely is. But Chris, I tell you, we're building this SEC network and you are a part of it. And I'm gonna tell you, get going here, man, because I want you to talk about. I get so fired up about 4:30 or 5. I cannot sleep. I'm serious. We get up in the morning to do this show. We have the best guests like you, and Yancy Porter will be on in a minute. But the SEC, all people are worried right now. Kind of be Bob Newhart. Calm everybody down. Let's talk about this basketball race and what's on your mind. Because, I mean, Brendan and I, he's a creative guy. You are too, but there's a lot happening.
Oh, man. It is. First of all, it's hard to win on other people's floors anywhere, anytime. And then you think that, then you get something random like Kentucky going into Auburn and completely owning that game, which was nowhere on my radar.
Yeah.
And then we can talk a half hour about Auburn's last 4 games. That's been something. Sorry, we've got my dog fired up about.
No,
something.
We're dog friendly, dude. You're good.
Well, this guy's nuts, but we love him anyway.
Oh yeah, you gotta love the dogs.
Anyway, where was I think here's what I think. I think I've had Tennessee as the best team in the league for, I don't know, 2.5 months. I've really never gotten off that, because when Tennessee has a downturn, it's usually for a game. It doesn't last long. It's a team that is good offensively, is great defensively, and it's old. It's got a Dalton Connect. I think it's got more places where you poke around and it's not soft. I think every other team in the league, you can find something. Alabama may be the second best team. You can poke holes in their defense at time to time. Kentucky's the hot team this week. Last week was more of a disaster. This team went from cannot defend at all to I think I heard Gary Parrish say number 4 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency over the last 2 games, which I will need to see more before I get that. We could do a whole thing on Auburn. I think Florida's lying there kind of under the radar as a really good team. Florida's lost, once in the last month. That was a 1-pointer at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, just when I thought A&M was getting it together.
And dominated that game and shouldn't have lost it.
No, they should have. I think look, Florida has not beaten a lot of really good teams yet. I mean, they've beaten some, but not as many as like if you're looking at the top team. That Florida needs to add more quality wins. Like if you want to say they've done it against some of the weaker teams, you could probably say that. I still think they're really good despite that. And you got A&M. Just when I thought A&M had figured it out, and they get Tyrese Radford. He's breathing okay again. They've got Wade Taylor carrying him till he's okay. Just when I think they got it right, when they just slaughtered Tennessee, they go to Vandy, lay an egg, get beat at the buzzer, and just get obliterated by Alabama. So that is the league. I think the lesson to me in college basketball that I'm watching going forward is who is most consistent week to week, and there's not a lot of teams right now pulling that off. Also ask Purdue about that too after getting beat by Ohio State over the weekend.
Yeah. Well, looking at Tennessee, we were up in Knoxville at Mark Ham's house, and he's like, well, wait till we get to the tournament. Rick Barnes, great guy, everybody loves him, but one Final Four in all those years and a lot of talent. You hear that. And then Alabama last year, they were the number 1 seed overall. Look what happened to them. The SEC beats up on each other, but I think you're right about Tennessee. Dalton Connect came out of University of Northern Colorado. He's the best shooter. Yeah, go Bears. He's the best shooter in college basketball.
Did you really?
Yes. Yeah. I went to school in Greeley. Reality, baby.
That would have been a fun
every Wednesday was Slaughter Day. So
oh my goodness.
So it was just
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Every Wednesday without fail. You're like, what's
that? My in-laws live up there, and I know exactly what you mean because. And by the way, I've actually been to their first basketball practice, not like a Midnight Madness, but I've been in that gym for. Yeah.
It's cool out there. Hey, if y'all because
anyone can get to school because the grades are easy to get into, so they pretty much accept anyone to go to school there. So they have they've been. Because my friend was the athletic director there for many years. And he left, and they worked really hard to even get where they've gotten already to even have the facilities and all that stuff. So they're actually trying to attract more talent. I think if we're a Colorado basketball school, mind you.
Yeah.
I mean, Chauncey Billups and CU Buffs, but that's a whole nother. That's like the last most exciting.
Well, you look at y'all are talking about him. And by the way, we were in Atlanta. Mallory and Tyler gave me some bacon. Have you ever had this from Athens, Tennessee? Either of y'all? Benton's Bacon Smokehouse. Oh my goodness. That stuff, you can order a 4-pack of about 40 pieces for $38. They'll deliver it anywhere, and it's cured, it's smoked, so it doesn't have to be refrigerated. Our ancestors did make it a long time before, microwave and freezers came along. So anyway, but looking at Dalton Connect, when he's on, he can have a 30-point game and Tennessee can lose. But if he has a 23-point game and 5 other guys average 8 or 12, Tennessee's the best team in the country. What is it about Tennessee, Alabama? Those two, to me, are the best 2 teams in the league. But Alabama played in Knoxville and lost by 20.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd say best team in the country. I think that's probably Connecticut right now with Purdue.
Yeah. I meant to say conference. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like when they get a dozen from Josiah Jordan Dames or Gainey comes off the bench and gives them 15. I mean, they've got 4 or 5 guys that on a given night can give you 15, and if Connect gives you 20, 25, you're fine. Now, I think the one thing that I'm a little concerned about them is I was watching them play at Arkansas for a minute the other day in a non-competitive game, and Arkansas wasn't even guarding Santiago Vescovi, who was a preseason first-team All-SEC guy. No, look, Tennessee's done it without him. His scoring is almost a bonus at this point, but I do wonder – I feel like if we get to the round of 32 and they've been upset by somebody, it'll be the traditional, okay, they didn't have enough guys who can score, the offense locked up, somebody shut Connect down for a half, and that's why they lost. No, I don't think that will happen. I would, right now, not knowing the brackets, I would pick Tennessee to go as far as anybody in the league. But that's the one thing that I know Tennessee fans are still concerned about, and it does occasionally pop up from time to time. What was the game? Connect had, I don't know, I want to say 30 when they lost to South Carolina. It was about
30,
half the team scoring.
Yeah.
So there have been instances where that happened, but I would also say, hey, look, on any given night, just about anybody but Connecticut can have an off night and get beat, because we see it all over the country.
Well, if you look at the SEC by itself and you compare it to another league, is the Big 12 still the standard and then the Big East? But if you look in the Big 12, Kansas has lost 5 or 6 games all on the road. I mean, they lost last Monday at Texas Tech 79-50. And you look at these road games if you go, I think 13-5 is going to win the SEC this year. That you can win it at 13-5. But Alabama is looking more and more. Nate Oates, maybe people don't like him, but they've had some bad road losses at Auburn, at Tennessee. Not bad. Those are good teams. But figure out, Chris, another team besides Tennessee or Alabama, because Florida, and I'm, as a financial advisor, I study trends, 200-day moving averages. Florida, I said this a few weeks ago, not because Brendan's on here and Gator. I mean, we got a lot of fans of every school. Number 1 team in the country in rebounding. That's going to pay off, and you got a great guard. And Todd Golden is a very good – he could be an elite-level coach in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a team I've circled for a while. You look at the upcoming schedule, I've said I don't feel like they've notched like a ton of outstanding wins, which is kind of holding them back a little bit.
They cracked the top 25 yesterday.
Did they? Well,
yeah. So that's first time all season that they've hit that. So they're hot right now. I think their biggest thing is they can't finish. That seems to be their problem.
Well, look, and like I said, there's a difference between resume and how good are you. Sometimes, it's these teams you play twice in the SEC that a lot of times dictate who wins this. But again, I think they're really good. I've been calling them the sleeper team since right about the time they started to get hot, because if you watch them, they got a lot of weapons. But you look down the rest of the schedule, they've got LSU at home, which LSU just won on the road. That's, it's not going to be a pushover, but it's not, it's not playing at Alabama either. They've got road games at Georgia. That one's very winnable. At Alabama, that's going to be tough. They got Vandy twice. They got Missouri in there. They've got Alabama at home, where Alabama has a little bit of trouble on the road. And they've got at South Carolina, and I think you'd much rather be playing South Carolina a couple of weeks from now than having played them already. So I think maybe a quirk of the schedule allows them to get in there, but the problem is they're 2 games behind Alabama already.
Yeah. In a minute, Yancy Porter is going to join us. And if you can stay on a few minutes, I know you can usually stay on until about 30 after. Talk Rebel Yell Hotline. I love getting the folks that cover the different schools. You are rivals, Vandy, but you also cover the whole SEC. He's Rebel Yell Hotline, and then after that, Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider. But when you get the people that cover these schools together, that is a serious roundtable of great minds. And we do a lot of Savant Saturday and roundtables. Chris, who's doing the best job and the worst job of coaching in the SEC this year?
I think Lamont Paris is doing the best job. I know that they have stumbled mightily in the last week. I think that just points a spotlight at how good a job he did it before, because the computers were saying this is not at best, this is maybe a top 50 team, but just barely getting in to the top 50. And yet they have beaten Kentucky. They've beaten Tennessee. They were 20-3 heading into last week. Yeah, and it was his second year rebuilding at a place that is one of the worst 2 or 3 basketball jobs in the league. I still don't think I changed my opinion there. You might could throw Nate Oates in there. You might could throw Rick Barnes in there, depending on how you define coaching. The worst I'm looking at, it's Jerry Stackhouse. The program has been completely mismanaged.
Not even close.
Well, I mean, you could say Dennis Gates. Missouri is winless, but I go back and look at Dennis Gates last year. You know, he did a wonderful job his first year. Dennis Gates has got a history. You know, when Dennis Gates took over Cleveland State, he literally, I think, took up over a roster with 0 players and got that job in June or July after Dennis Felton had run it into the ground. They won 11 games his first year, I believe, and he was coach of the year the next year in the Horizon, and they won the league. So they've got a banner recruiting class coming in next year. They got 2 players hurt in Caleb Greer and John Tonje, who are really big parts of what they were looking to do. It just fell apart on them. The schedule hasn't been easy, but I think Dennis Gates has done the right things to put the program in a good spot. It just hasn't worked out. Jerry Stackhouse is another story.
Well, what is your take on Stackhouse?
What's that?
What's your take on that?
My take on him is he works less hard in recruiting by a factor of many than anybody else in the league. Yeah. He has alienated his players. He's alienated boosters. I don't think he's a horrible human being. I know people that love him. But this was all predictable from before he coached his first game. I know people when Malcolm Turner was there, they went to Turner and said, "Hey, look, this is not going to work, and here's why." I think they got really fortunate last year. And I don't want to take anything away from him. He did some good things. They run some good sets. They had a guy on staff in Adam Missouri who was really good at game planning for people. They would throw wrinkles at guys. But Missouri left out of frustration last year. Yeah. And you're seeing the whole. I just think you've got to recruit at the level of your peers. And you've got to manage stuff. I think he puts in less time in that job than whoever's 13th in that league, and I don't think it's close. Nobody is minding the ship over there from the top, and this is what happens. You just run it all into a ditch when these things come together.
Another one, Eric Musselman at Arkansas. I mean, I've heard stuff. I know a lot of people, Arkansas fans, a lot of their kids. I know them well. They come over here and hunt with us. They've been telling me stuff about what's going on at Arkansas for a while. I'm not going to get into it, but the student body knows. Okay, they all know. Eric Musselman's a hell of a coach. How much longer? Arkansas has money. That they have a ton of it. People, look, I live in Memphis. I'm basically an Arkansan, a Tennessean, and a Mississippian. I'm a TAM, is what we call it. But there's no excuse with what they have. And then this problem that they have is wrecking their basketball team. Why are you letting a few people wreck your basketball team? And Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, he's right. I don't traffic in rumors, but there seems to be internal problems. If I'm Eric Musselman, I'm going, hey, this is a team first. And that's it.
I always have a theory that when performance is so off from what appears to be the talent, and I thought they were potentially a top 10 team in the country. You know, the knock on Arkansas was they didn't have enough shooting. But like, man, they got Caleb Battle. I watched that guy when they played Vandy last year, just keep Temple in it by himself, score 35 points, take a game to overtime just by force of will. Yeah. They've got Tremont Mark from Houston. They had Trevon Brazil. They've got dudes that could have played anywhere. And so I get that maybe they didn't have I'll go way back, a Scotty Thurman type shooter, but I thought they had enough to get it. I mean, those guys are not as common, I think, as they probably used to be. As the game has changed. So there was enough talent there. Like when you start seeing them miss the mark so badly, you're like, okay, that gets my attention. But then at the same time, he's built his team on transfers and it takes him 2 months to get it together. So they've always started slow in the SEC, and you can be like, okay, we've seen this before. But when we got to the end of January and it wasn't turning around, you're like, there's got to be something wrong. He has always built his team on transfers and getting the right guys and making it mesh together at the end. Something went horribly wrong this year. You know, you've seen it with Rick Pitino at St. John's too. You heard him lash out over the weekend. Penny Hardaway did the same thing. Yeah. Sometimes you can get the right bunch of guys and make it work, and sometimes it's combustible. And it seems to me that that's definitely a latter situation.
All right, I'm going to throw another one at you. Living in Memphis, Memphis basketball is a big deal, and so are the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are in real trouble. John Morant missed the first 25, then he gets hurt, not working out. Basketball-wise, 13 of the 14 players on that roster were brand new. And if a dog will bite, he'll do it when he's a pup. I say this every day. Penny Hardaway's not a good coach. He's not a good manager of talent. And you know what? If I'm looking for a new coach, I'm going over on Lakeshore Drive in Birmingham, right next to Mountain Brook. I'm going to Sanford.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going.
Look, I've got Tucker Osborne, friend of mine, graduated from played at Mountain Brook, played AAU basketball. His claim to fame was when Boogie Cousins was driving for a slam dunk. He got in his way and he drove him into the wall. It was very nice. Excuse me. But anyway, Tucker is a lawyer down in Montgomery. Great. He knows Bucky really, really well. We've had him on the show. The guy took Mountain Brook. Basically, he took the Everglades and turned them into a superpower in ice hockey. That's the equivalent of what he did at Mountain Brook. What about him? I like him. I love him. I love Bucky Ball.
Well, I think you've got the right coach at the wrong school in the state of Tennessee, because I think that should be the guy. I would have a hard time. Look, Vanderbilt, I don't know what the candidate pool would look like if they decide to go there, but I think Bucky McMillan absolutely should be on that radar. When Vanderbilt has won games, it has had shooters. It's run people out of the gym with three-point shooting. The fans love that style of basketball. They had the three-point streak until under Jerry Stackhouse that broke after 1,000-some-odd games. By the way, that was the other thing about him. He didn't realize what was going on late in the game when they lost the streak against Tennessee, and people were yelling. They're down 20, and everybody in the gym knows that if they don't hit the three, the streak is going to fall, and that's very important to that fan base. And he had no idea that was even a thing, which gives you another idea of the disconnect between him and their traditions there. But I think Bucky McMillan would kill it at Vanderbilt. At Memphis, they would get shooters. They would not lead the league in athleticism, but they would bomb you from all over the court. They would play fast. They'd be fun to watch. At Memphis, you can get athletes and win a little differently. I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but it's funny you brought that name up, because that one has come up a bunch around Vanderbilt. There's a lot of the fan base that would love to have him.
We were in Mountain Brook Saturday on the way back, had to stop off in Mountain Brook Saturday on the way back from Atlanta to Memphis. And he's just incredible. The guy, he's just, and someone, W. Van Der, you have to be looking at Todd Golden. For the record, I am not going to push for SEC coaches to be taken out of our league, SECU. But I'll tell you, you really know basketball, and you know baseball, you know football, you know what you're doing. You think about it, you get these dynamic coaches, these personalities. Alpha males win, betas lose. You've got to have that. And Bucky McMillan is a serious alpha. He's just going to make everybody look at the Bermanator, Leor Berman at Auburn. I mean, that guy has that's what, and Dylan Cardwell, that's the heart and soul of the Auburn basketball team. And both of them have been there forever. But you know what? They're both going to go out. They've already got their NIL. They stayed at one school their whole career, and they're going to have people lining up to offer them job opportunities. And that's what I see. And you know what? I got a lot of friends in Nashville. They are dying for Vanderbilt to have leadership. Yancy Porter, come on in here whenever you can. But Chris, in your opinion, real quick, can anybody go up there to the chancellor's office at Vanderbilt and say, let me tell you something. You need to be gone, and we're going to take this university over, and we're going to run it like a Southeastern Conference school. Someone needs to do that. A group of people does.
Well, long story short, the school is run by, it's not the board of trust, it's not the chancellor. It's run by some kind of combination of maybe a couple of mega wealthy donors, the Ingrams in particular. It is run by basically the vice chancellors and wherever the political winds are blowing. And the chancellor just kind of has to answer to all that. They have kept it. I mean, we could do 2 hours on that alone, but they've managed the peer pressure is so great not to rock the boat and not to change ways. It's been explained to me like this. It took a long time to figure out. Vanderbilt is not the way it is because there's one person out there saying, no, it's the way we do things. It's a culture that's been created over 50 or 60 years. Now, I thought Nick Zeppos was bad for athletics. I think at the end he felt a little guilty about it, their former chancellor. And what he did on his way out, and I don't think he knew he was on the way out when he did it, but he said, all right, we're going to get an outside athletic director. Everybody said Candace Story-Lee, who's their AD now, was going to be the next one. I was talking to people on the committee like, no, we need a different direction. They went there with Malcolm Turner. He came in. He tried to take a wrecking ball to the old ways and do it the way it should have been. And I don't think he was qualified. I think he made a lot of mistakes, but I think he was trying to run it like an athletic department.
Yeah.
Nick Zeppos got run out about 6 months into his tenure. And all these things of progress that I was hearing, all of a sudden, like it stopped. Like all these things, like he's looking at Texas A&M for facilities and getting comps there. All of a sudden, it went quiet for a while. Right after Zeppos had taken off, there was a vacuum of power there, and the Kirkland Hall faction, which runs the school, that's the administrative arm, reeled him in. He was having trouble. They would not let him make asks for donors. He could not get anything done. The plan was to frustrate him and run him off, which they did. And when they had a vacuum of power and an interim chancellor who was coming in, Daniel Diermeyer, their chancellor now, was still at Chicago. He'd been named chancellor, but he wasn't on campus yet. Vanderbilt ushered in the administrative faction, ushered in the athletic director that wanted all along, and Candace Story-Lee, who didn't get interviewed for the job to maintain the status quo. That's still a lot of what you're seeing. And until somebody figures out how to break that cycle, I don't think things ever change there the way they need to be for them to be successful.
Yeah. And you know what? We need a Rumble. Let me say this about one of our sponsors, Rumble Boxing Gym, 1835 Union Avenue, Midtown Memphis, at the corner of Union and McLean. They're open Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7 at night, Saturdays and Sundays, 9 until noon. 48 people in the classes with elite instructors, 15 3-minute sessions, 45 minutes, which, gentlemen, I think that's the length of a prize fight, 45 minutes. Can you imagine going 45 minutes in a prize fight? But no. Rumble Boxing and Camp Lee, my friend, this is the first of 3 locations she's going to open in the Memphis market. We're going to introduce her new general manager. His brother plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. No, it's not Travis Kelce, but anyway, proud to have him as a sponsor. Check him out on our website, rumbleboxinggym.com. Also, the Vitamin Shop, 5338 Goodman Road, Olive Branch, Mississippi, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays, 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And a new location coming up in Oxford. It opened up last week in Oxford, Mississippi. The Vitamin Shop. Go to their website. They have all kinds of specials, but they have people on staff that know what they're doing about health and nutrition, probiotics, shot blocks, goo, all the energy supplements, recovery, pre-workout, workout, post-workout. Remember, you've got to have people that know what they're doing. The Vitamin Shop. Damn proud to have them as a sponsor of Sidelines. And I like this, Maury Gaston, listening from Statesboro, Georgia, home of the Georgia Southern Eagles. Chris, and I hope Yancy can join us. He was trying to join us. Sometimes he gets caught in that rush hour traffic in Oxford. But look, you know, when we think about the Vanderbilt culture, that can happen at any school. You've got football coaches now that are trying to separate their players from the student body. The college football players want to be treated like normal students, don't they? We better be careful with all this NIL money floating around.
Yeah, that's a longer conversation than I've got time to unpack right now.
Yeah. You know what I mean,
you say they want to be treated like normal students, but they want to get paid large sums of money and transfer on. That's an oversimplification, but I would say it's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah. I'm just saying we're hearing this stuff, and I'm like, well, if you're making $200,000 or $300,000, here's the next question for both of y'all: do the losses hurt more or as much as they used to? If you're 18, 19 years old, you're making a couple of $100,000, $300,000 a year in NIL. Does it hurt like it used to when after a loss, you may not get that $100 handshake? You may not get it. I don't think they do. I don't think they do. And I want a locker room full of people that after a loss are smashing stuff, are mad and driven to tears. Because you know what? they'll get up and they'll work harder to never have that feeling again. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. Feels that way.
Okay. All right. Because I love the SEC. This is our conference. And what happens here, what happens at Texas, around the world, the SEC, it's like tectonic plates, the New Madrid Fault. What do you think is going to be the takeaway? Have we heard anything about the collaboration between the SEC and the Big Ten guys? Anything that we can take away and say, okay, we can hang our hat on that?
They just pretty much kicked the can and said we're going to have it this way for till 2025, right? I mean, there wasn't much, there's basically we're not going to get anything right now. I think it's just a lot of conversation. I haven't heard anything else. Chris, have you?
No, I haven't. But to be honest, I have not dug in hard there. Again, like last week was the start of baseball and the continuation of basketball, and there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah. I just think, you recruiting. What is your? I mean, you always talk about Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt. He got out of the athletic complex because of the toxic losing culture. Okay, I know you got to run. Chris, let people, I know we kept you long today. Thank you so much. Love having you on here. You work so hard. You're a pro. I watched your podcast the other day. You do, some of them are 12 minutes, some of them are 25, 30. They're all over the place. You're putting out content, though, all the time. People need to follow you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, that we go where we need to go with the subject. Sometimes that's 10 or 12 minutes, and sometimes it's an hour. But we try to cover baseball, basketball, and football extremely well between the three of us. You can find us on YouTube. Just search Southeastern 14. We'll have a name change coming soon, but for now, you can just search and find us. So that's where 90-something% of our work is. And if you want to just follow the SEC at a 30,000 foot level, what's going on in those three sports, I think we do a pretty good job of it. So thank you for having me. And
hey, this is for your marketing. This is for your marketing department. So if you want to just take that with you,
howdy, folks. Big Tex.
You could probably just pull the background out.
We batted around an idea for a new logo. We may just take that and go with it.
I'm kind of feeling, it's a free, it's a freebie. That's Wikipedia. Knock yourself out.
Howdy, folks. Big
I'm for
Tex
hire
here.
If you need anything.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
it just screams SEC.
It does, though. It feels just like welcome. Hey, welcome to the SEC, Texas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We got to make him talk and turn him into a GIF or something. We're like, oh, welcome.
Hey,
Rob's voice.
They've got this the ticket out in Dallas in the morning, and they do have a guy that does the voices, and he goes, howdy, folks, Big Tex here, and he talks about all the food you can get at the Texas State Fair. I will pull that up here in just a minute, and I'll play you a little of it. But, Chris, I know you got to go. I love having you on here, and
bye, Chris.
You are a pro. I love it.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's always fun, and I appreciate the kind words and appreciate you having me.
All right, take care.
Be well.
Yancy was like, send me the link. We got so many new links and stuff going on. I had not
same link.
Yeah, I did that. I corrected that, but
no change.
The folks here. Let me see if I can find this here. Big Tex. Now, Big Tex is one of the funnier characters out there, and I'm gonna find him on here. Yeah, the character of Big Tex is like 70-foot tall Big Tex, and Bo Carter and the guys told us that Big Tex, I think, was burned in a fire and fell over a few years ago. Yeah,
no.
So if you go in there and you find Big Tex, he's pretty darn funny. I mean, it's a bigger than life character, but. The Texas State Fair, when the SEC has media days in Dallas this summer in the middle of July, I fully predict and anticipate this. Giant billboard on I-20 coming into Dallas. It says in big print, Texas, and then, welcomes the SEC, and the SEC will be in the bottom right-hand corner where you'll need a magnifying glass to see it. It's going to be like, when I
love it.
Yeah, but that's what's going to make this so much fun is Texas will just they will make everybody in the conference fired up to beat them.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be, we're going to get into all that this week with Buddy and Rob are going to be doing a show together, talking about this very thing. We're going to roll this out here any day now and talk. I think the first Friday of March, I believe we're going to put out our first episode of this. We'll unveil the name we'll slow roll that out, Joe or Rob, not Joe. I'm on the air with too many people. But we're going to talk all about that. We got Yancy Porter on the line. Let's bring him in, talk on this show. Hey, Yancy, how are you?
Doing great, guys.
Yancy, let's sorry about the link issue. We got so many new links. I didn't send you the proper one, but let's get an update on Ole Miss basketball. Like you said, not a great win over that winless Missouri team, but those are exactly the kind of games you can lose because you can get drugged down to the level of the opponents you're playing. It's not like Dennis Gates can't coach, but you know what? The Rebels are closing in on the 20-win mark. Did you see that coming?
Well, with Beard, maybe so, just because Beard, right? But, you look at that game, and last week when I was on the show, I talked about the lack of paint game, and they went through the game and they scored 0 points between their two centers. It really is remarkable what they're doing. When I say zero paint game, I mean zero paint game. It's not how you want to construct a team. I'll say that, but they're doing it. It's almost like magic.
Yeah. Well, Chris Beard, who's going to be SEC Coach of the Year so far, in your opinion? Lamont Paris or Chris Beard? Or Todd Golden?
Paris had, man, you look at what South Carolina's done, but, it's almost like Ole Miss. You felt like it's a lot of smoke and mirrors with South Carolina, and, it's kind of starting to come that way, right? But, look, teams going mini slumps. South Carolina plays with a lot of grit. And Ole Miss plays with grit too. You don't win 19 games with 6 remaining. 6-6 in the SEC with 0 paint game unless you don't have a lot of grit. So I don't mean to mark what Ole Miss is doing, but you'd have to go with South Carolina now. But look, you look at what Alabama's doing and what they lost last year. I don't know. I'd have to start putting him in the conversation as well.
Yeah, and Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider. I know Rodney was scheduled to come on at 40 after, so I'm going to have y'all on together, and I love having y'all on together because you're both two of the better sports writers and media people. I like to use that term because you're great writers, but you also do radio, you do podcasts, you do TV, you do everything. And real quick, Rodney, have you ever we were talking about it a minute ago about Texas and Oklahoma, and we're going to be doing a lot of talk about them coming into the conference, obviously. Have you ever been to the Texas State Fair in Dallas?
Yeah, but I mean, it was a long time ago. I mean, it was 1975. It was the weekend that Texas, Oklahoma obviously play every year. And Joe Washington was at Texas. It's been a long time ago. Oklahoma was ranked. I'm sorry, Joe Washington was at Oklahoma. Yeah. Oklahoma was ranked number 1. It's been a long time.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, do you remember Big Tex, the bigger than life character there? That's the y'all. Here is Big Tex from the Ticket in Dallas. A little audio of Big Tex. Here we go.
First week of the fair.
Can you hear this?
We bring on live from the State Fair, the main grounds, Big Tex joining us via satellite. Good morning, Big Tex.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to the State Fair of Texas.
Yay!
Actually, I've got a new call for people to come to the State Fair. Yeah, here we go.
I think I'm going to have nightmares from this.
Picking up on that.
So Big Texas tribute to Rain Dakota Prescott.
Yeah, and he gets on there, and they've got – I just didn't know if y'all ever heard him, but they talk about all the food that you have there, and it is going to be a crazy time. I just wonder, Rodney and Yancy, and y'all have been covering the SEC for a long time. Is Texas going to try and soak up all the oxygen in the room? Because in Alabama, this coming year, even though Nick Saban's gone, Alabama's still going to be one of the favorites along with Ole Miss and Georgia. But Texas and Oklahoma are going to convince you or try to convince you otherwise, aren't they, Rodney?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, Rob. Can you repeat the end of that?
Just saying, Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league, I wonder how they're going to feel, because Oklahoma is going to have to, and Texas will have to deal with Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia as the preseason picks to win the league this year. And there'll be one of them. I think Texas will too.
Yeah, no, Texas should have a really good team. I mean, I think offensively they should be really good. But you asked about them soaking up the oxygen in the room. Are you kidding me? Of course, that's them, man. They're Texas.
Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, real quick, give us an update. I know Rodney was on late. I didn't get the link out, the proper link, but let's talk about what's happened. You had some coaching changes at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer made some moves and all like that. What's going on in Tuscaloosa with the football team right now? Spring practice is, I know, just around the corner.
Yeah, well, obviously, Ryan Grubb and the offensive coordinator came, and it was not unexpected that he left and went to Seattle. I mean, DeBoer knew that there was a chance that was going to happen. Okay. The opportunity came for him to leave, and of course, you jump on it. It's an NFL opportunity. He took Scott Huff with him, the offensive line coach, and of course, they were replaced yesterday in terms of the hirings of Chris Kopolovic, who has been he was just hired at Baylor back in December. He spent the last 4 seasons at Michigan State, offensive line coach. He's done a really good job throughout his career. I mean, highly respected. So that was a good hire on the offensive line. Of course, Nick Sheridan's already been, even though it's not been officially named, I don't think yet that I've seen. I haven't gotten anything official, but it is official unofficially. Nick Sheridan's the offensive coordinator. He's moving from tight ends to quarterbacks coach. He's got a ton of experience doing that. And then tight ends coach yesterday was plugged in with the hiring of Georgia Southern offensive coordinator Brian Ellis, who's did a tremendous job at Georgia Southern. I mean, they were one of the top passing teams in the country last year, averaged over 300 yards a game passing. He's going to come in and coach the tight end. So it's a really good hire. And then William Inge was reportedly coming from Washington to coach the edge players here, but he's going to Tennessee. And Christian Robinson was hired, who played at Georgia. He's got a lot of experience in the SEC. He also has been at Baylor. So they're about to got the staff shored up, and then of course Keon Sabb, which we kind of predicted on TighterInsider.com. The safety from Michigan we said last week, we were hearing some rumbling. Watch out, he may hit the portal. 24 hours later, he hits the portal, and now he's here in Tuscaloosa. So, Rob, I think, yes, Josh Cuevas also is a tight end that played in the national championship game for Washington. He also has committed. He's here in Tuscaloosa too as a transfer. So it's a lot happening yesterday.
So much for all those people who think, this is another Brian Harsin because he's from the Pacific Northwest. Not even close, because you actually have a coach who enjoys being around other people and believes in recruiting. This is amazing. Yancy, looking at it right now, what's going on in the SEC, Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, those are the top 3, and Texas for next year. Are you surprised by what is going on with Kalen DeBoer? Even though he lost some coaches, they're still bringing in that kind of talent. I'm not. Yancy, are you there?
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. You're going in and out as well for me. I apologize. Yes. No, I'm not. I mean, look, I just look at the job he did at Washington and the amount of time he did at Washington. I'm not surprised at all. You don't turn around a program like Washington as quickly as he did and get them as far as he did if you're not a hell of a coach.
Yeah. I agree with that. Rodney, Tyler Insider TV. This is the May Veterinary Clinic, Tuscaloosa and Northport since 1964. 2 locations, open every day, Sundays, 3 to 5 p.m., drop off and pick up only. They even have connecting cat condos and an outdoor pool for your pets. The best veterinary care anywhere. Waller and Guy May, all their associates, the vet techs and everybody. And they always have Sidelines on Google Smart TV there in the lobby. Hey, everybody in Tuscaloosa and Northport. And I'm sure afterwards they're going to go get them a taco burger at the Casa, Rodney. Rodney, the offensive line lost Proctor, and he's gone back to Iowa. How good really was he? Came in with a lot of fanfare, but for the kind of offense that Kalen DeBoer is going to run, would he have fit anyway? I'm just asking. I had that question texted to me.
I think it's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it would have been dependent on Kalen. I mean, Caden Proctor is extremely gifted. There's no question about that. But, you know, at one point he was 390 pounds before the season last year. And, wow. I mean, you know, it comes down to some personal accountability, responsibility, and all of that stuff. And
Butterbean.
Yeah, he about 6'7", you know, 390 pounds. He carried it. But anyway, he, you know, again, I think he had to focus on losing a lot of weight, and he lost some. He got better as the season went along. He's a very gifted prospect. And you know what, Rob, really what it came down to is, and I understand this, you want to be home, he's from Iowa, and that's where he felt most comfortable being home, wanted to go back home. And so I hope he does really, really well. And guess what, he'll probably be a good fit up there for the offense that they play, which is you know, half a yard in a cloud of dust. I don't think they've scored a touchdown in how many years now?
It's been a while.
Just joking.
It's been a while.
If there's any Iowa fans out there, I know they like to win games 2-0. But anyway, he's a really good prospect. He really is.
Well, Yancy, you look at what's going on at Alabama in the portal and what Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin are doing. The SEC, in spite of all the chaos around the country, seems to be the one constant. All the good players, it seems, most of them, want to be in places like Oxford and Tuscaloosa, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Lane did. He was kind of ahead of the curve when it came to the new NIL portal era. And then you look at Alabama, they bring in a coach that has lived off the portal himself. And if you're going to make a transition from Saban with a lot of turnover, you're going to need a lot of help, immediate help. And he's done a great job. Look, Alabama just got a player from Michigan, a safety that Ole Miss wanted just yesterday. So,
yeah,
obviously he knows how to use the portal as well.
Yeah. And, you know, Rodney, looking at you have a coaching change, it scares a lot of people, but only 2 players from that recruiting class left. And then Alabama brought in Ryan Williams, who was committed anyway to come there. So you had one lose, and one of them was a quarterback. What areas going into spring practice with Alabama are you going to be focusing the most attention on? You and Gary on Tyler Insider TV, which is live Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. from the studios at WVUA TV 23 in Tuscaloosa. Rodney.
Oh, I think maybe his cell phone might have dropped out.
Rodney, you there? You know, Yancy, you know, in the old days, we're all old enough to remember when you had minutes on your phone. You just ran out of minutes. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
he may be on cricket. I don't know.
And Rodney will say this himself when he gets back on. You know, again, it's going to be the offensive line changes there at Alabama. Defensive backs, especially cornerback. They lost, I believe, 4 out of their 5 corners. You know, they got a lot of transition there at corner for Alabama. So I would imagine that's what he would say. I'm sure there's some other spots on their team that are going to be worthy of taking a look at. But if I were an Alabama media person or fan, those are the 2 spots I would be watching closely.
Yeah, and now, Rodney, I didn't see a text. He had something that came up. He had to get off. Rodney, you still there? Okay. he had something. He had something that came up. I had missed the text on there. There's a lot going on. Yancy, I asked you the other night about who the couple was whose name is on the court at the Pavilion, but it is a socially cool thing to do to go to a basketball game at the Pavilion. I think we're getting to the point now in the SEC where more fan bases, their fans are getting madder than hell when their team loses a basketball game, especially a conference game this time of the year. Agree or disagree?
Well, I mean, it's February, right? That's where people separate from the pack one way or the other. That really sets you up for the NCAA tournament, and all these games are important. I love that the SEC now is going to 18-game schedule. Honestly, I hope they go to a 20-game schedule sometime in the future, just like I hope that football realizes that 8 games with 18 teams or 16 teams, and the SEC is not enough. I hope they go to a 9-game schedule in the SEC, and sometime in the future, I hope they up that to 10 games. So, yes, it's critical time. This, teams that are locked into the tournament are playing for seedings, and teams that are on the bubble or just inside the bubble, like Ole Miss and Mississippi State, and Florida's already worked themselves up to a 6th seed. What a hell of a job he's done down there in Gainesville as well.
That's right.
They're working themselves to a nice season.
Work them silly is what we say down here.
Yeah.
We say work them silly. That's our thing, okay, Yancy? So if you need all that Gator lingo, okay.
Well, work them silly. But
hey,
February is a critical month for all these teams. You really that's where the season is make or break for you.
I wanted to ask really fast about Mississippi State because I was watching this today, and the ambidextrous pitcher, Harangelo Sejente. I think I'm saying that right.
Harangelo Sejente.
He throws with both arms?
Oh, gosh, yes. The pitcher from Mississippi State they brought in last year, it's amazing, isn't it? But I think he settled on the left-handed side. Yes, he does throw with both arms, but
does he switch up in does he switch up during the bat, during the at bat?
Well, it would be more really during if you're facing a left-hander or a right-hander than during one at bat. But no, he's settled in, I believe, from the left side. Maybe it was the right side to get a little bit more consistent at the plate. But yes, he has the ability to throw it from both sides. It's amazing.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah,
I pitched. Does he have a different mitt, or does he switch? Yes.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know toe pick on both toes.
You're on a time clock now, right? So, I guess the dugout has to be very on top of it. But like I said, I think he settled last year. He was struggling a little bit with consistency code strikes, and so he just settled in on one side. Yes, I mean, can you imagine trying to go into the SEC as a rookie and throw from both arms? I don't know.
It's hard enough.
They made the right move with that retrospect, but State is they looked a lot more solid this weekend. It wasn't the bad news Bears. They weren't kicking the ball around. Walking guys, hitting guys, doing things that Ole Miss did this past weekend. So I think that State had a lot better showing this weekend than what maybe they even anticipated as a fan base.
Well, one thing for sure is the interest is there, not just in college football, basketball, but baseball. And Ole Miss sells more season tickets in baseball than they do in basketball because the facility is bigger than the Pavilion. I know that's kind of hard, but does anybody in America sell more season tickets for college baseball than Ole Miss?
I don't know. I don't know. I believe I think the last count around 9,000 season tickets they sell. There's another, couple thousand they put in the outfield. They'll get 12,000, 13,000 for the big games, 10 for the smaller games. So, like you said, the basketball stadium is not as big as the baseball at either Ole Miss or Mississippi State. Like I told you, last week, baseball in Mississippi is just different. It really is. It just means more. So obviously there's going to be more interest and more tickets sold.
It is. I got to ask you another one. I'm going to make a statement here. And Yancy, tell me, living in Memphis, I know a lot of Ole Miss graduates and fans. Your accounting school is ranked number 3 in the country. Got a great law school, pharmacy school, finance, business. I'm going to throw this at you. More than half of the Fortune 500 CEOs have their CPA. The future bodes well for a school like Ole Miss with all those graduates in the School of Accountancy getting their master's in accounting for running corporate America, a lot of them. So I think you're going to have some good conservative people coming in there that are smart, that know how to run a business. But you go back 30 years ago when Jim Barksdale with Netscape gave Ole Miss, $125 million, and there have been other boosters. I think people, what we try to do on this show, Brendan and Buddy and I talked about it Friday, SECU, that's our deal. Wake up, people. $1.5 billion academic fundraising campaign at Ole Miss, $500 million for athletics. Yancy, is that proper for me to say that this is not your great-great-grandfather's Ole Miss?
Well, I mean, the founders of the universities in Mississippi set Ole Miss up for that, right? I mean, they got the medical school, they got the law school, they got the business school, they got, the programs that make money. So I don't think money has ever really been an issue at Ole Miss. It's always been an issue of getting it organized so that they can raise the money. Yeah. And now they've got the right president, the right AD, the right staff in place underneath them. And so, things are good around Ole Miss right now. There's no question about it.
Yeah, we ran into some folks out yesterday that have moved from Southern Illinois to Oxford. And this guy, he and his wife said, we moved there 3 years ago. They said, we love it. It's attracting a lot of people, great quality of life. Yancy, I know you had the Rebel Yell hotline. Catch them Monday nights, 6 p.m. Sports 56 WHBQ in Memphis. And also Super Talk, Mississippi. They go everywhere. Chuck Rounsville, Harry Harrison, Gary Darby, Gordon Ford when he's available. And you do it from the studio in Oxford, near the square, I think maybe near the library. A lot of research is done there. But Yancy, just leave us with this. We're about out of time. But you're part of this SECU, the network we're building. And as always, I want to tell every guest we have and our sponsors as well, we appreciate more than you can imagine. And just got a text from Charles Hall. He and his wife, Laura Hall, Ole Miss alums, huge Rebel fans. They own Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee, open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. They've got 7,000 pairs of boots, all the great-looking clothes, Filson, Duckhead, Ariat, Wrangler, STS, Pendleton, Schaefer Outdoors. They're as good a people as you'll meet, and you can go there and ask, what's the difference between a Texas cowboy hat, an Oklahoma-sized cowboy hat, and one in the traditional SEC footprint? You'll learn a lot, Hewlett & Dunn. But Yancy, let people know how they can keep up with you. And as always, thank you so much for sharing your time with us here on Sidelines.
Always. It's just at Yancy Porter on social media. And just click in Rebel Yell Hotline anywhere for podcasts, or if you want to listen to it live, it's every Monday from 6 to 7. And you can listen to it on your Super Talk or WHBQ station in Tennessee. Mississippi's blessed to have a network like Super Talk where you can listen to it in every single town in the state of Mississippi. So we are first in something.
Hey, you were first, and also per capita, the most generous and kind people. Yeah. They're great people down there. Yancy, hey, look forward to having you on next week, okay?
Thank you very much. Everybody have a blessed day.
You do too. I'm going to tell you what, Brendan, we got to get you up. Oh, my gosh. Benton's Bacon. There you go. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Howdy, folks.
I think that comes in the 4-pounder.
Yeah. And listen,
keep refrigerated.
Tyler cooked some last week, and I had it. You can't stop eating it. Put it on a smash burger with pimento cheese and that bacon. Oh, my goodness. The Virgin Mary herself would be proud to come eat lunch with you. Hey, hello to everybody that's watching and listening. All of our sponsors, they're on the website. You cannot do this alone without a great team. Brendan Martin, our executive producer. God bless you. Buddy Martin, all the great people that make this show possible. We're here to serve. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, have a great day. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Don't ever forget, it is we the people, not we the government. See ya.
See ya. Thank you, Rob.
All right. Love the music.
That's me ramping right to like finding what I'm doing. I got lost, but okay. That's
right.
Picked it. All right. Bye. Bye. I saw Audrey. Bye, Audrey. Bye.
Hey.
Now more than ever, it is so important to shop local and to buy American. For 60 years, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company has been on the historic Collierville Square, and we strive to sell made in the USA products when available. With over 7,000 pairs of Western boots and work boots in stock for men and women, come and see our huge selection of clothing, jeans, and accessories from top brands made in the USA. Please support local business and come shop with us at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. God bless the USA.
Sidelines with Rob Brown.